Despite having a simple pathway to the majority, Senate Republicans could be on pace for failure. What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back again with a new video, and today we have to talk about the 2024 US Senate elections because Republicans could be on pace for failure. And I know, my recent Senate prediction had Republicans getting the majority by a couple seats. I get that. I still think at the end of the day, Republicans are favored. But we cannot ignore that there are some big fat warning signs for Republicans in several states. Again, I am not dooming and glooming. I just want to be a realist. I want to make sure that nothing crazy happens where, oh, Republicans actually don't get the majority and we're stuck at 50-50 at best. So I want to go over some of the key Senate races this upcoming election because we just need one state to flip. Technically two if you don't want to worry about Lisa Murkowski or Susan Collins, but technically speaking, we just need one state to flip. And on paper, that should be easy. Like, wait a minute. There's 8 potential flips and we just gotta win one state? How hard can that be? Well, it turns out very difficult. Because outside of Michigan and Arizona, Democrats have the incumbent running for re-election. And I think we all know how difficult it really is to overcome incumbency, because when you're the incumbent, you have universal name recognition, right? At the bare minimum, much more name recognition than your opponent. You have a lot more money, you have a campaign infrastructure, all of that. While the opponent usually doesn't have any of that. That's why incumbency is always a big deal. And outside of Michigan and Arizona, Democrats have the incumbent in every single race. That's why a state like Wisconsin, which more than likely is going to vote for Trump, is an uphill battle because you're going against Tammy Baldwin, who's been there for what, 12 years? She's a strong incumbent. That's why Democrats in some states, they have a much bigger advantage than they really should. Now, let us start in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Even before Biden dropped out, I have been very skeptical of Virginia, even at the presidential level. I think in a best case scenario at the presidential level, I think Trump was on pace for maybe a victory. In a best case scenario, the stars align. I think it was getting that bad for Democrats. But even if Trump won Virginia, which I guess it's still possible, but Democrats got rid of Biden. And theoretically, on paper at least, that should help Democrats in a state like Virginia. I think it's one of those states that maybe if the stars align, everything goes perfectly, it could, I guess, flip. But for now, let's just not talk about it because it's Virginia. I mean, seriously, back in 2020, this state voted for Biden by over 10 points. Will it be closer? Yes. Does that mean it's going to flip? No, it's not going to flip, at least for now. Maybe something crazy happens where Hunkow somehow wins, which I guess it's possible. It's just very unlikely. So Virginia, for now, is Democrat. That's one state right off the bat we could say not very likely. And same thing with Pennsylvania. And I know that sounds crazy, like, wait, Pennsylvania? Biden only won the state by, what, a point? He only won Pennsylvania by a point, just over. Well, why are you saying that it's not likely for Republicans? Well, the problem with Pennsylvania is you're going against Bob Casey, who surprisingly isn't pulling that well considering. Yeah, a 5-point lead is large, I guess, on paper, but think about it. Bob Casey, he won in 2018 by 12 points? He's a massive overperformer over other Democrats. He's well liked, and that's only because of his last name. If it wasn't for his last name, no one would care. Now, could this race get a lot closer, especially if Casey is not pulling at 50, which I'm shocked about? I guess. But Bob Casey is one of those people that has a history of overperforming by a lot. It's not one of those things where he does 1 point better. It's like, no, he actually overperforms. He's well liked. He's a good candidate for Democrats. So I'm going to say Yeah, Pennsylvania, McCormick, he is running a good campaign. I'll give him credit. But for now, we're just going to say, yeah, Pennsylvania is Democrat. And already, that's 2 of the 8 states you could just ignore. Because right now, you're not winning in either of them. You see the problem Republicans have. Right off the bat, 2 of the races, you could win in a best case scenario, I guess, the stars align, but that's so unlikely that it's probably not going to happen. But let's look at some other states. Let's look at Arizona. You know, Kari Lake is running, you know, she can energize Republican base, right? Oh no. She's not. Hell, I would argue that this is an even bigger embarrassment than in Pennsylvania, because at least in Pennsylvania, Bob Casey, yeah, he's winning by more, but everyone knows who Bob Casey is. He has a last name that's very popular. His father was a well-liked governor. He was a pro-life Democrat, all of that. Well, Ruben Gallego, yeah, he has name recognition. He's been running a campaign for like a year now, but Kari Lake is still much more known than Ruben Gallego. Yet she's down right now by 3.5 points. I don't see how that's even possible. Being down by a point or 2, that's one thing. But for Lake to be down by 3.5, despite everyone knowing who she is, this is her biggest problem. Since everyone knows who Kari Lake is, unless she has a magical transformation where everyone begins to love her, I don't see how Lake can win. I really don't. Again, I'm not against Kari Lake herself. I just think she's running a terrible campaign. Like, the past 2 to 3 months, it's gone off the rails completely. It got so bad where I actually changed my endorsement from Kari Lake to Mark Lamb in the primary. Mark Lamb's not going to win, but you gotta try something different. It's not working. Now, a 3.5 point lead, it's not the biggest lead for Gallego, but like I said, I really don't see how this gets much better for Lake. Is it possible? Yeah, but the problem is her numbers are just so bad that even with all the skeletons in Gallego's closet, I don't think it's enough to overcome how hated Lake really is in Arizona. I really don't. Will she lose by 3.5? I highly doubt it. But will she win? I'm having some big questions about that. We gotta see after the primary how it goes. But right now, I don't have much confidence in Arizona. And I want to be clear, this is not a prediction. I should have said this beforehand. This is not a prediction. I am not saying Lake loses Arizona by 5 points. I'm just saying for now, Democrats are in a really good situation in Arizona. They just are, because Kari Lake is not running a good campaign, and I think I don't think there's enough time to recover. Now, Nevada, another state that Trump is doing very well in. Right now, Jackie Rosen is up by 4 points. Sam Brown, who I actually criticized in the past for not running a good campaign, is surprisingly putting up a good fight. Now, we gotta be fair to Jackie Rosen that this is Nevada. This is one of those states where the polling can absolutely understate the Democrat support. It happened in 2022, it happened in 2016, it happened in 2018, but even then, she's only at 46.7%. She's the incumbent. She's going against Sam Brown, who really doesn't have that much name recognition. Yeah, people know who he is. He ran for office twice. I get that. But compared to Jackie Rosen, he really doesn't have that much name recognition. And the fact that she's not at 50%, she's actually at 46%, that's awful for an incumbent, by the way, especially in Nevada. Sam Brown actually has a fighting chance. I can't believe I'm saying that, but he actually has a chance, especially if Trump is winning Nevada by 4 to 5 points like the polling suggests, which I'm not saying is going to happen, but the polling is saying Trump is winning Nevada by like 4 or 5 points or something crazy like that. Now, that's not my prediction, but that's what the polling is saying, that Trump is up by 4 to 5 points. Maybe he's up by 2 to 3 against Harris, but either way, right now, Jackie Rosen is way below 50. But we're just going to say, okay, Democrats, you're favored in Nevada by a couple points. We're just going to say for now, it's a Democrat state. That leaves us with 4 states: Montana, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Ohio. Let's do the 2 states that I think Democrats could lose, but it's clear right now they're the favorites. Starting with Michigan, Mike Rogers, he's at 40%. That's not that good. Slotkin's only at 45%, but she's up by 5 to 6 points. You could argue it's low name recognition. I get that. But it's one of those states that I think Republicans could do very well in. But Mike Rogers right now, it just seems like he's kind of just stagnating a little bit. He's been stuck at like 40% for a while. It's like 40%, 40%, 36, 37. Yeah, look at this. He's been at like 38 to 40% for the entirety of the cycle. It seems like he's stagnating a little bit. It could be name recognition, I get that. But for now, we're just going to say Mike Rogers is down by 5 to 6 points. As for Wisconsin, this is where things could get very interesting very quick. Because we all know this is the one state that back in 2020, you can look this up, Wisconsin in 2020, they said, the polling said, Biden would win Wisconsin by 7 points. He won it by just under 1 point. That's a 6-point miss. Right now, Eric Hovde is down by only 5.5 points. Not only that, Tammy Baldwin is below 50. This is one of those states where I could see Hovde overperforming by a lot. Because we have a history of this happening in Wisconsin, where the polling is showing Republicans losing by 4 or 5 points, even up to 10 points. They either come very close to winning, or Ron Johnson in 2016 just destroying Feingold, like just mopping the floor with him. It was bad. So right now, I think Hovde is, people make it sound like he's down by 15. It's down by 5.5 with Baldwin below 50. And not only that, Wisconsin has history of understanding Republican support by a lot. So we're just going to say, okay, to be fair to Democrats, it's leaning Democrat or likely Democrat, whatever. But it's one of those states where the lead is not as secure as Democrats would think. And that leaves us with 2 states. The 2 states that will actually decide the Senate majority. The other states, if Republicans win them, they're just expanding the majority at that point. These 2 states, if Republicans win one of them, they have a majority. If they win both of them, they have a legitimate majority. They don't have to worry about Lisa Murkowski screwing them over every single time. They don't. So these are the 2 states that if Republicans win one of them, they got it in the bag. And we got to talk about Montana because I think Shaheen's the clear favorite. I don't want to get cocky, but look at this. I know Remington Research, they are a Republican pollster, I get that. They had Shaheen up by 5. And even the other pollsters, Tester was not at 55%. At best, his best vote share this cycle was 49%, and that was back in February. Outside of that, it's been 44, 45%, 39%. So even with this being a Republican pollster, we have Emerson College, which came out actually in March, a couple months before Remington did, and there's no difference between Tester's vote share then and now. I know this sounds kind of arrogant, cocky, whatever. I think Shaheen is the clear favorite at this point. Just right now, the data indicates that Shaheen is surging. And Tester right now, it seems like he's at 45% of the vote. Will he get 45% of the vote exactly? No, he's probably going to end up with like 48% or 49% or something like that. But for now, I think Sheehy's the clear favorite. Tester is just way below 50. It's not looking good for Republicans or Democrats in Montana. And with that, they got the majority. But like I said, we want to have a real majority. And that comes down to Ohio. If Republicans win Ohio, they have a legitimate majority. At least kind of real. Because you still got to worry about idiots, across the board. I get that. Like John Cornyn. But you don't have to worry about Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins just killing us with garbage. Especially Murkowski. Now, I want to be clear about one thing. I am not saying that Moreno is the clear favorite. I'm not saying that at all. But right now, and I know there are some polls from a couple months ago, I get it. Brown is at around 45%. Right now. 45% of the vote, that's it. The two recent polls have him at exactly 50%. So he's not at 58% of the vote. He's capping out at 50% as of now. While Moreno, he's slowly going up. Slowly but surely, he is going up against Brown. And Brown is a strong Democrat. Let's be clear, he has incumbency. He has a history of overperforming. But I made whole videos on this where his overperformance, it's not by 20 points like some people think. It's by 2 or 3 over Obama in 2012. Not by 10, by 2 to 3 points. Yeah, it's an overperformance, but it's not by that much. But the one thing I think people are just forgetting about is this is Ohio polling. Look at this. Back in 2020, the polls were saying Donald Trump was going to win Ohio by just 1 point. That's it. 1. And look what happened. He won by 8. That's a 7-point miss. And not only that, they messed up Biden's vote share. They said he was going to be at 46%. He ended up at 45%. If you suggest that, okay, these polls are off by, they're overstating Brown's vote share by 1 point, he's under 50% then. And at that point in time, more than likely, if Moreno's having a serious overperformance in the polling, he is quite possibly beating Brown. Hell, go back to July of 2020. Look at this. They had Biden winning by 1.5 points. And right now, or in 2020, he lost by 8. That's a 10-point miss. If a 10-point miss occurred, which I'm not saying it will, but if it does, Moreno wins by 5. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but this is one of those states, just like Wisconsin, where there are big polling misses in favor of Republicans. Like, the polls are showing Trump losing by 3. He wins by 8. The polls are showing Democrats are winning Ohio. They lose. Ohio has a history of doing this, especially in the Trump era, especially in presidential years. 2016 understated Trump by a lot. 2020, same thing occurred. I understand that Moreno is not Trump, but he is a Trump candidate. If Moreno overperforms by 5 to 6 points, he is, as of now, beating Brown. We just got to see what happens, but I think Republicans, they're currently at 52. It's barely 52. Like, Ohio could go either way. But even if Democrats win, which I still have doubts about, I think Sheehy has got it in the bag in Montana. He's not a guarantee, I should say. He's more so the clear favorite. We just got to see what happens. But anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy this video, smash the like button down below. Subscribe, share with your friends. Hit that little bell. Follow the social media accounts in the description down below. And of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.